Hello there, welcome along. This is Business Connections Live, the program for entrepreneurs, SMEs and small business owners. It's great to have your company. Can we wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. It's great to know that you're out there. We are live across all the different social media platforms at the moment. If you're watching on Facebook, well, hello there. How are you doing today? Hope you're having a really fabulous day. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, as you look around the studio, wide shot studio, there it is, there's nobody here. Am I on my own for Christmas this year? Will there be no turkey to eat? Is it just going to be a lonely, sad time? Actually, no, it isn't, because what we've got is we've got a whole bunch of our favourite guests who have arrived here in the studio. More will arrive as the programme goes on, and they're going to be giving you some key things to remember for 2018. 2017 has been a spectacular year. It's been a worrying year with Brexit and things like that. Of course, next year we've got GDPR just around the corner, General Data Protection Regulation. We've got that to worry about. So what does next year hold for us? And as business owners, what do we need to be taking into account to make certain that our businesses succeed? Well, it's going to be a very, very straightforward program today, because we're going to get some great advice from our business guests that are here. And we've got a really good cross-section. It's everything from customer experience, human resources, sales management. We've got that too. All the way through to what maybe the local chamber can do for you, and maybe even how you should be presenting yourself when it comes to your stagecraft, when you're standing on stage. Also, how do you handle the media? We'll be finding out a little bit more about that as the program progresses. But I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's go out to our reception area where Linda Bazant is waiting right now. And I think she's got Antonio Falco with her.
Thanks, Steve. And I'm out here with all of our guests for this year's Christmas party. And the first guest that I've tripped over, who's already got a glass of sparkling,
I'm afraid, Linda,
is our very own Antonio Falco, the sales director. And Antonio has got a new book out called Stop Pitching, Start Selling. Antonio, let's hear a little bit about your book.
Well, thank you for the plug. That's very nice of you. So the first print run is virtually all sold out, and it wasn't 10 of them. It was a couple of hundred, so that's great. So we're about to make the next print run, and it's going to go onto Amazon soon. So it's been great. It is. It's an introduction really to sales. If you've not been experienced in sales, you've not had me teach you sales. It's an introduction as to how to become a professional salesperson, and so some useful tips in there for everybody.
And speaking of tips, what tips do you have for our viewers for 2018?
That's a very good question, Linda. The first tip is don't finish the year without finishing the year. So in other words, don't go into the next year still with a load of stuff on your desk that really you should have got rid of, you know, tidied up, ready for the new year, fresh thinking, fresh thoughts. So don't finish the year without finishing the year is my first tip. The second tip is don't forget to set a target for the next year. Too many companies still do not set themselves a financial target of where they want to be by the end of the following year. So imagine to yourself, Linda, where would I like to be this time next year? What should we have done? What new customers should we have tried to gain? What new markets should we have opened? What should be the figure that we should be sitting on? Because sales is, one of the three strategies of sales is, it is about the numbers. And you can't run away from that. And the numbers are the activity that we're doing, the customers we're talking to, the customers we're closing, and the money in the bank, because it is all about the money.
Absolutely right. And what about all of the pros and cons of Brexit coming in the new year? So now that we've actually got a reasonable deal with Europe, and of course now we're starting trade negotiations, how are businesses looking at that, and should they actually be worrying about that but just getting on with it?
I think that's another excellent question. And by the way, the other thing they need to be worrying about or thinking about, or at least getting themselves aware of, is GDPR. And that's clearly something you can help with.
Yes.
So GDPR is very, very important that you understand what the implications of GDPR is, and essentially it's how we make contact with potential new customers. Can we send them stuff on email? Can we send stuff? So I think companies need to, and still an awful lot of companies that have no idea what GDPR is, never heard of it, don't know that it's coming. And when is it coming? May the 19th?
25th of May.
25th of May. You need to be ready, and that includes things like your own website. You've got to have notifications on there how you're handling everybody's data. So
cookies.
If you haven't done anything about GDPR, you need to speak to Linda Bazant because she is the expert on it.
Thank you.
So, backward to your original question.
Tips for 2018.
Right, Brexit. Let me tell everybody, there's nothing that we as individual businesses can do about it. We have to focus on our own businesses. So I keep telling people, focus on what you do and what you do best. Focus on what it is that your sales team needs to get in terms of new customers, new markets, all the stuff I've just mentioned. Because we can't do anything about the wider picture. The only thing we can control is what we can control. So if you're in business, make sure your sales team is focused, make sure they have a target, make sure they've got a decent commission plan to work towards, and make sure that month by month you've got a sales meeting where you understand what the forecast is and what the potential business is, month in, month out. The bigger stuff, Linda, we just have to trust the politicians know what they're doing, and there's a whole new issue in that, isn't there?
Exactly, there certainly is. Thank you very much, Antonio. Antonio Falco, the sales director, and now Steve Hyland.
Well, actually, while we're here, we're talking about this, as Antonio drifts his way over there, what a GDPR, you were just alluding to it there just a moment before we get over to our guests. Come over here a second. Just how important is it going to be, do you think? Antonio said we've got to be aware of it. Is it something we should be worried about, we should be frightened about?
I wouldn't go as far as being frightened about it, but it's very, very important that businesses realise that it comes into force on the 25th of May 2018. And it's very important that you've got all your database completely tidied up, because one of the reasons that it's actually coming into force is so many people are complaining about the amount of data that we collect on them and how unnecessary it is. And so you need to clean up your database to make absolutely certain that the people you are contacting them actually want you to contact them. And if they've given you permission, and it has to be unambiguous consent by the 25th of May, then they are more likely to want to buy from you because they trust you. But GDPR is very important because at the moment the maximum fine's £500,000. If you get it wrong from the 25th of May, the maximum fine is £17 million or 4% of your global annual turnover. So you need to make sure that you're ready.
You're not normally this dire, are you, actually? You do smile a lot, don't you?
Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas. Nothing to worry about. Honestly, nothing to worry about. Come over here. Let me introduce you to a few of the other people that we've got here. This is Sylvia Baldock. Now, Sylvia Baldock was the first presenter or the first guest to come on the show last year, or at the beginning of this year. You're going to be the first to come on in January again for us, aren't you?
I am. I can't wait, Steve. And we've got a special theme.
I know, and I don't know whether I should just give a little bit of a tease about it. But
oh, go on.
All right, we will then. We're both members of the Professional Speakers Association. God knows why I'm a member of it, but because these two wonderful people here, both Sylvia and him, Michael behind Mr. Dodd, are really, they are exquisite presenters when it comes to actually presenting.
I'll pay you later.
You'll pay me later, thank you very much. But I saw you a couple of months back address the haggis, and it was the most wonderful thing I've seen. It just captivated the room. People were just completely absorbed. How important do you think it is to actually have that kind of stage presence for people these days in business?
I think it's absolutely essential, because if you get on stage and you're really nervous and you're not very sure about what you're going to say and you're not connecting with the audience feel nervous for you, and then they can't relax and they're almost willing you to get off the stage. Whereas if you're doing something that you love and you've prepared well and you've practiced well and you can just focus on that delivery and on connecting with the audience, then they really enjoy it, because they feel like you're just having a conversation with them, and every member of the audience should feel that you're speaking just to them and doing something really fun like addressing the haggis. I couldn't wait to do that. I absolutely loved it, and I think that showed in my energy on stage and the feedback I got afterwards, because it's something I do every year and it's just great fun. And I thought, well, how else can I demonstrate stagecraft better than how to address the haggis? So for me, it was just great fun.
And it is going to be a great show, I can promise you that. Now, Sylvia's going to be gone. We're going to be talking about stagecraft. It's the first programme in the new year, so make absolutely certain you stick it in your diary. Watch out for the programme listings that come up on YouTube, Facebook and wherever else you will find us. But this will be a programme to watch, because stagecraft, I think, is just so... It's gone quiet. What's that? Stagecraft is just so important. We look forward to it. We're going to come back. If you had a piece of advice for people into 2018, what would that piece of advice be?
I would say just be the best version of you. You know, we're all unique, we're all special, we're brought up to be the jack of all trades, but actually there's something that you are good at. So find out what it is and do more of it, because you'll consistently do it to a very high standard and you will absolutely shine and you'll be in flow. And when you're in flow, you have an amazing energy and you absolutely glow.
Absolutely fabulous. The lovely Sylvia Bulldog there. And if you want to, it sounded like Bulldog, didn't it? Bulldog. Or Bull. Oh, no, it's bad enough. I know. So, if you want to find out about books, they're on Amazon, aren't they?
They are, yes.
They are on Amazon. There are links on the website as well, for that matter, if you want to find out.
In 30 days.
For what?
From now to wow in 30 days.
From now to wow in 30 days. Bing.
Thank you, Steve.
There you go. Right, okay, let's go down here. Now, Chambers of Commerce, always just, you really need them. There's no two ways about it. And as I walk towards this lovely lady here, Louise Punter, a regular guest on the program, you came on, what we talked about this year, we've talked about Brexit, we've talked about GDPR. We've talked about exports.
Always talk about exports.
And because it's so important, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
And every time that I see you, something major has changed between the last time we saw each other and where we are now. So it looks like Teresa, God love her, she seems to be, she's moving things on, she's heading on in there. Love her or loathe her, she seems to be getting things done. It seems like maybe perhaps her government behind her aren't as united as perhaps maybe they should be, or as solid as maybe they should be perceived to be. But things have changed, haven't they? So what's your impression, your take on where we are at the moment, heading up to Christmas?
Yeah, I mean, it does feel as though as we hit the new year, there will be some good negotiations going on. But the thing that I struggle with is that everybody wants to be part of every inch of every negotiation.
Yes.
And in my experience, negotiations are best done behind closed doors, not letting each other know what the minimums and maximums are likely to be, and what the must-haves and the must-not-haves are likely to be. So I hope that we can allow them to do the negotiating. There's been an awful lot of input from the chambers into all of the information around exporters, because we work with exporters on a daily basis and we know the sort of things that they're worried about. So that has all been fed into the government through the British chambers, and hopefully with that information, you know, they know the sort of things that are must-haves, but we don't need it plastered across every newspaper.
No. So are you more confident, do you think, with what you've heard and what we've seen? Has it been a bit of a breakthrough then, what's happened over the past couple of weeks? Here we are, leading up to Christmas 2017. Obviously this programme could be watched at any stage in the future, but are you more confident? Or do you think we'll be looking back at this in the summer going, oh, what have we done?
No, I mean, I think most businesses that we deal with, that's sort of in the middle size band, you know, the sort of 5 employees up to about 50 employees, they face barriers, they face issues in their day-to-day business all the time, and you know, they're very resilient and they're very good at climbing over these barriers and moving forward, powering through. And to be honest, all the stuff around Brexit has just become another series of things that they need to power through. So I really, other than the exporters that have very specific requirements of Brexit, which is obviously not huge duties, etc., etc., most businesses it will have no effect on, and they will continue to be resilient. And particularly in Surrey, we've got, you know, fantastic businesses that even, you know, I've been around Surrey quite a long time.
You've been around a bit.
Been around a bit, and even if you go back to the recession in 2007, there were businesses having their best year.
Yeah.
You know, that's what running a small-ish business, I won't say small, but a smallish business is about. It's about solving problems and powering through. So I think we're going to be okay in 2018.
Too much politics, do you think, going on at the moment?
Politics isn't going to help any business, so I could probably say yes to that.
All right, then I asked Sylvia, I'm going to ask you right now, what would be that one piece of advice you would give SMEs, small businesses in the area? What would it be? How are they going to get through 2018?
Right, open your mind, look out for help. Where help is available, take it up. join the local Chamber of Commerce, because we are there 100% to support businesses, and at a very low rate of membership, most businesses could join up, and together we'll get through this, all the challenges that are coming forward.
As we're doing a sell then, the top 3 reasons to join the Chamber are: 1,
Connect you.
number 2,
Protect you and support you.
number 3,
Represent you.
is there a number 4?
Promote you.
I love it. Listen, we'll come back and we'll talk again later. And I'll tell you what, the jumper, can we just have a quick shot of the jumper, please, Jim, if you don't mind? Look at that. It's everything. It's the best Christmas jumper here, but get a load of this. Come in nice and close, Jim, because we've got dangly earrings as well. So absolutely the real business. So there we have it. Okay, so there we are. So listen, welcome along. If you're just joining us at the moment, here we are, where it's Business Connections Live. We call it our big Christmas party. What we're trying to do is really wrap up the year for you, just to bring the year to a close and get some of our favourite guests to come in and just give us a little bit of advice on how we should get ourselves ready for 2018 for next year. Rupert Honeywood's over there. We're going to talk to Rupert in just a moment. Is that all right, Rupert? No, come in. You're allowed to come into shot. This is...
Come in this side.
I'm going to do a social bit with Rupert now, and we'll come back and we'll find out more about what Rupert thinks the following year should be all about. But this year we ended up on a sailing ship together, didn't we? What was that all about?
Well, we wanted everyone to have a lot of fun. It was for our clients and very keen supporters, including you, Steve. Yeah, of course. And also a number of people who are very keen to act as introducers or partners to us as well. So it was a way of generally thanking people for being involved and working with us.
But the thing about it was a particular charity as well, isn't it? So you were helping raise funds for it. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, the Jubilee Sailing Trust, which is they have a number of sailing ships around the world, and they do a lot of work with adults and children with disabilities. And we're really delighted because we've been working with them now for the last 6 months or so, and we just heard that they're potentially about to get £400,000 worth of sponsorship through activity we're doing with them, which we're really excited about. Yeah, so and so are they, understandably. Yeah, so we've got a bit of a surprise for next year as well.
All right, listen, we're going to come back and talk about what your business does and how maybe your business can help other businesses in the new year, and also maybe just some of the tips and tips and tricks of the trade. We'll be doing that in just a few moments. So Rupert Honeywood, we'll be talking more to him. We've got a gaggle over here in the corner, a gaggle. In the far corner, we've got Jerry. Jerry, come over here, if you may. Now, Jerry... The last time Jerry was on the programme, we were talking about customer experience, and you are the man that goes out and you make certain that people complain, don't you?
Well, I do my best, because I think one of the things that as customers that we have a responsibility for as well is that we have to make it known if we're unhappy with something, and if we do it in the right way, if we do it without being rude to people. Because what I've said, and you've seen me say this, Steve, is a lot of people moan, but not many people actually complain. And complaining in a positive and a polite way is good for the company. Most companies say they like complaints. I'm not absolutely convinced of that. But if you do it properly, and if you do it in a way where the company goes, I think they've got a point there, it's very likely that A, you'll get some kind of compensation. And I'm not saying that's the only reason you should do it, but if you feel you've been somehow aggrieved financially or otherwise, and you let them know, then most organizations will appreciate that.
See, that makes it sound like you're the consumer champion, and you are in many respects, but what you're doing, you're going into businesses, and you're saying to businesses, you must identify that if this kind of feedback is coming back, you must do something about it. What kind of reaction do you get from businesses when you go in there? Do you think a lot of businesses, particularly large ones, give lip service to the customer experience, and they take you down a route where it sounds good, but actually they're doing nothing?
They do, and I'm afraid that is something, a very common theme that I see a lot, is that organizations talk a good story, but they actually don't deliver when it comes to it. And the reason that I take the approach that I do with complaints and things like that is that I do try to let them understand that this is a benefit. There's really benefits in A, listening to what the people are saying, learning from the things that you're doing wrong, if they are in fact doing wrong, and putting yourself on the right side of the customer, because this is one of the most important things you can do. And a phrase I use, putting yourself on the right side of the customer, is something that will pay off forever and ever. And I know it sounds...
Well, they must see initially that the cost is going to be I suppose, in some instances, prohibitive, isn't it? In their mind's eye, where in fact they could make a lot of money by actually doing what you suggest.
Absolutely. And for many businesses that are in a regulated industry, so financial services, telecoms, utility companies, if a customer really decides they've had enough and they've put in the formal complaint in, that formal complaint will cost that company a lot of money to address through the various ombuds and services that come up. What they're counting on is that we don't, that we just give up, oh, can't be bothered, I won't try. And if they recognize that if they dealt with that complaint when it first came in a positive way for both parties, and they recognized the issues and took care of it, it would save them time, it would save them money, and it would save them the reputational damage. There was a very, very interesting article in the Times, Sunday Times yesterday, from Jill Inslee, who writes a column in the Times helping people recover compensation. And she just went on to say, you know, what the companies that are doing this, and she name-checked a lot of the famous companies that we know well and I've talked about. And she basically said, you know, these people are making things bad for customers by poor policies, by untrained staff, all kinds of things that are doing this. There's lots of reasons why it's happening. And so the first thing you have to do is get your head out of the sand, recognize that it's happening, and do something about it. And you will save yourselves time, money, and reputation.
If you had the worksheet in front of you right now, the businesses should be thinking about, the 2018 must-do better sheet,
sure.
What do you think the top 3 or 4 things would be that companies need to address that they could do relatively cheaply within their organisation to actually just make things just a little bit better?
Okay, so the very top of my list is allowing your people to be themselves. Most of us, as individuals, when we're in individual situations, we see someone in distress, we will want to help that person. It's a natural human emotion to want to help people. And if we let them do that, and I'm not saying unfettered access to everything, you know, we're not saying give them everything, but allow people to be themselves. I had a great example. I was in a store yesterday, and I had some fabulous service from people that were just being themselves. And I walked out of that store with a smile on my face, and it just made the difference between me. And in fact, they weren't able to, they had a product that was out of stock, and they said, you're going to have to come back. And I went, yes, that's fine. It was just the way they did it. So the first thing I would say is let people be themselves. The second thing is get your feedback from customers, but do it in a creative way. Most of us have survey fatigue. The moment you go to a website, up pops a thing saying, oh, will you give us a review? Or someone on the phone, oh, after I finished the call, will you give me a good review? No. Do something more creative. Do something where people understand that their feedback is going to be used positively. Think about how many times you've been asked for feedback. You think it ever does anything? You think it ever goes anywhere? Does anyone ever come back to you and say, Steve, thank you very much for that feedback. As a result of what you told us, we've made changes to make things better for customers. Rarely, if ever, happens. So use the feedback properly. Really get to make sure that you take it, use it. The phrase I use is, don't ask if you can't act.
Listen, that's great advice. I must admit, I'm a real terror. When I get people on the phone to me, what I tend to say, it's for a survey, I charge for that information. And I tell you what, that knife gets rid of them quickly, doesn't it? Gets rid of them very, very quickly. So next time someone picks the phone up, maybe the question to ask, Jerry, is what are you going to do with it? How's it going to change my life with this information? And if it's not going to change my life, I'm going to make you pay for it.
Absolutely. Highly recommended.
And he's still got the most amazing Canadian voice in the whole world. It's just a voice to fall in love with. Listen, welcome along. You're watching Business Connections Live. It is our Christmas party. It's great to have your company as always across all the social media platforms at the moment. But don't forget, you can watch us absolutely everywhere. You can download the program on iTunes. If you do download it on iTunes, don't forget to leave a review. That's really important. We'll show you how to leave a review in just a few moments' time. We're on Facebook, so why don't you leave a comment under our Facebook page? Just tell us what you're thinking of the program. If you've got a comment right now, that'd be fantastic. If you've got a question for one of our guests, there you are. There's the Facebook address, even as I speak. And if you'd like to find out more about what we do, well, why don't you get in contact with us here? It's dead easy. Here's the email address right now, studio@businessconnectionslive.com. You can always give us a call if you're looking for, and it sounds like an ad now, And why not? Because it is. If you're looking for corporate communications, if you're looking for internal comms, if you're looking to find out more about how GDPR can impact on your business, well, why don't you give us a call? 01784 256 777. You can talk to either myself, come over here, you, or the lovely Linda Bazant as well. There she is. So they can do that. You can also follow our stream of consciousness. Linda does all our social media work at BCL She's a multi-skilled, multi-talented person. There you go. Just BCL Business TV. You can watch the programme on Facebook. That's on the screen. It's been on the screen before. And the most important place to go to, of course, the website at
businessconnectionslive.com.
Over 250, actually it's coming up closer to 300 hours of great business advice, all for free on the website. Now, we may change that in the new year, so may I suggest to you that what you do is that you get in there quickly, you get the information that you require, you utilise it. When you have people just like Antonio Falco and Rupert Honeywood coming on the programme and giving great advice, and that really has helped. You're gesturing. Come over. Come over.
I wanted to say that what we're because I missed out on this, what we're looking to do at the end of January is we're going to have a GDPR conference. Because still, as I said earlier, a huge amount of businesses out there that have never heard of GDPR, therefore don't understand the consequences of their business. And of course, we are fortunate enough to have the UK's leading expert on GDPR. So we're going to have a conference. So last week,
somebody else just come in the room.
Behave. No, we're serious. This is very, very serious because it's going to have implications on businesses, as Linda will explain. And so we're going to have a conference towards the end of January, where businesses come along and actually listen to what GDPR is about and what they need to do to comply, because for sure as eggs is eggs, Steve, a lot of companies are going to be caught out and the fines are absolutely astronomical. They will wipe you out as a business. So end of January, we're going to announce it formally. You're going to get a save the date at the beginning of January. GDPR conference with Linda Bazant.
Did you know that?
Yes, we did.
Oh,
and
right. Just checking.
We're going to be inviting people not just from Surrey but from Hampshire and all of the surrounding areas, because this is such a big subject. We're going to make it a huge, massive day. So save the day.
All right, so that should be really good. We're looking forward to that. And once again, if you keep watching the program, you'll also see trailers and promotions for that as well from us here. And if you'd like a program like this one, perhaps maybe for your organisation, well, why don't you get in contact with us here at Business Connections Live, and we maybe can put a corporate program together just like this. And we did it very recently for a large telecoms company. We did a panel, didn't we? And that was very, very successful. It was targeting exactly their core audience, and they really did use it quite extensively. We're going to be doing a number of those in the new year for them.
From the audience as well, taking questions, giving answers, making sure that we can give as much information out as possible.
All right. So just talk me around who we've got standing up. We're going to show you our back right now. So who we got up here? Who should we go to first?
Michael Dodd, I think.
We've got Michael Dodd in the corner.
Martine,
she's Human Resources.
She is HR department. The HR department.
Should we do the HR department, then come to Michael Dodd in a moment?
Martine Robbins.
Would you like to do Martine? I can do Martine. All right. Move your elbow. Thank you very much. Coming through. Martine. Hello there. From the HR department. Now, this is a unique idea, isn't it? Because people normally think that HR is something that is intrinsically part of the business. But a lot of businesses, I suppose, can't sometimes afford a full HR department.
Very much so. And I think it's trying to show people that it is accessible, it's not expensive, but it's important to be compliant.
For a small business then, what are the key things that an HR department can bring to them?
It's helping them be compliant. It's helping them be that extra, sounding board they may not have. Someone that can be that objective pair of eyes. We're all small business owners, but sometimes we need someone to just, help us be objective about looking at our business in a fair way, in an open way, and being constructive with it. That's important.
Now, coming up to Christmas, does it kind of peter off a little bit for you as you lead up to Christmas, or is this quite a busy time of the year for you within HR?
Yeah, well, it's the Christmas party season, isn't it? So
all sorts of things are going to be going on, aren't they? See, I haven't touched you once, Madam, Your Honour.
No. Well, that's good. That's good. But
no mistletoe here. No, we're okay.
We're okay. But no, exactly. It's the whole behaviour thing, and people getting a little bit, giddy with the whole Christmas spirit, quite literally. So that can often cause companies problems in terms of how they deal with employees, making sure that they are being seen to be dealing with it rather than just putting it down to hijinks. Because as we've seen in the press recently, there's all sorts of issues to do with behaviour and harassment. Those things can spill over quite easily, and from a company's perspective, it can do some reputational damage, and you don't really want to have that.
There's a big misconception about human resources, isn't there? Because a lot of people think that you're there for the employees, and actually you're really there for the employer, aren't you, to protect the business, to protect its reputation, but perhaps in some instances from the employees. Do you find that when you go into businesses and you're talking to them initially, that they've really got the wrong end of the stick about what you're all about?
Yeah, some of them have, and it's trying to understand exactly what their business is about and what they're trying to achieve, and I think that's where someone such as myself can add the value. So it's understanding about their business, what they're trying to do, but also showing that you can actually be that objective view on their organisation, and also you can help their employees as well, because what you want to create is a win-win. You want engaged employees working in that business to help that business be successful, and if you've got two sides of the equation, then hopefully that'll be exactly what you need to help you be more successful and go on to bigger and better things.
Only a couple more questions to go, so don't worry. I'm not going to keep going on and on. When you're looking at the whole area, what size business do you think it works for? If I'm an SME, if I'm a small business owner, and I've got a couple of people working for me, do I still need an HR team, a HR department to be sort of standing behind me to protect me, or can I get away with not having one?
Well, these days, as you may be aware, the employment tribunal fees were abolished back in July, and already there's been a 66% increase in the number of tribunals that are already going through the system. So, and that's only within the first quarter. So if you have no process, you have no documentation as an employer, you're already putting yourself in a very precarious situation. So if you've got two people, even just one, the first employee, I've got a lot of clients that take that first step. They want to be compliant. I've got a lot of bigger clients that are growing and they need the process. So it applies in whichever camp you fall into. It's making sure that you know what you're trying to achieve as a business, you have the documentation, you have the process, and you have those clear communication messages that you're giving out in terms of your business, how you want to run it, and how you want your employees to engage and perform their duties.
Now listen, 2018 just around the corner, so here it comes. Your chance now to frighten them. Linda's already done that with GDPR. Your turn to frighten them now, so to tell them that they really need HR resources. If they don't, they're going to die. So that's your opportunity to do that right now. So straight down that camera lens there with young Jim behind it. What are the key things then for 2018 to make? Oh, it's getting closer. My word. What are the key things that we need to remember then as we back you into a corner?
You don't hold me to account. Well, you've talked about GDPR. That is very important for companies to make sure they're compliant. And from an employee perspective, it really is key, because if you have got data on an employee's file that is way out of date, you need to get rid of it. Do not leave it in the file, because that will trip you up if you get called out on it. Other than that, it will be the impact from employment tribunals. They're on their increase. It will clog up the system full of chances as well as the genuine ones, but it will be a pain to deal with. So as an employer, you want to avoid that.
Is there an average payout?
At the moment, it depends. We're talking about 8.5k at the moment.
Really?
For just but if you're getting into the realms of unfair dismissal, you're talking between 80-85k. Breach of contract, 25k. So we're not talking small amounts here that can really make or break a smaller business. So, for a relatively inexpensive process, working with someone like me, you can save a lot of money and keep all that profit in your own business. That's what it's all about.
Listen, thank you very much indeed. We are all suitably now frightened, and we will all be. So if people want to contact you, it is
Martin Robbins at the HR department, Woking.
It's as simple and as straightforward as that. That just goes to show you, doesn't it? And you don't sometimes think about HR. HR for many years for me, I always thought that they were there for the employees. I thought they were my last call, my last resort is where I would go to get things sorted out within the business. Little did I realise that in fact they were there to make certain that the business was protecting itself from me. And my word, a few of the companies I've worked for, they've needed protecting from me in the past. Hey, listen, let's move on to this young gentleman here. This is Michael Dodd. Now, you've got to forgive him because he is Australian.
Well, you want to talk about cricket, do you?
Yes, you've just given us a real kicking, haven't you?
Well, I thought England played quite well at times. You know, it's been interesting to listen to the pressure that Geoffrey Boycott's been under, but he's maintained his temper. And, you know, there have been comments, even from the Australian commentators, that actually have said that England have, you know, had their moments in this series so far. You know, 3-0, you know, well, it's not the worst result in the world.
Relishing it, aren't you? It's really relishing it.
But it has actually been, you know, a contest at times. It's not like it's if you remember the 5-0 one, some previous occasion, I mean, that really was a kind of whitewash in pretty much each of the games, whereas the games have had great moments this time, so it has been entertaining as well.
Do you know, I've got my director, Gordon, he is whispering, we're going to show you this in a moment, but I've got my director in my ear, and all he was saying all the way through that, because he's a big cricket fan, he's going, give us a break, come on, what's the matter with him, get him off, wow, rubbish. So anyway, sport aside then, people will know you for your media training. It's been an interesting year for you. Grenfell at the beginning of the year opened up all sorts of, I know this sounds awful and crass to say it, but nearly opportunities for people to come to you to find out how they should handle the media better. Do you think we're not very good at handling the media within business?
It's mixed. There's good and not so good, and if you watch closely you can often tell that the people who do shine out on camera, take Richard Branson, for example, you know, they have had some training. I didn't train Sir Richard myself, but, you know, it is quite clear that he has this idea of, I'm going to get across a message, but in a conversational way, and in a way where he does answer questions, which is one of the secrets, is that you do answer questions, don't avoid them, because you've got, you know, worse than business by a long way, the sleaziest, slimiest of politicians, which is not all of them, but at the worst end, they blatantly just get across their message and don't answer the question. So
well, let me make this clear. And it's things like that. It's these stock answers that have, let me make this clear, not answering the question, even if they are asked a direct yes or no question. Do you think we're seeing that becoming an influence on the way that people actually now present themselves? For instance, The Apprentice, Dragon's Den, the way we see people raising funds. There seems to be an aggression now when people are being interviewed on TV.
Well, that's a bad thing, and I would you know, give a warning to all your listeners who think that you just aggressively go to your message. It doesn't work. I mean, you know, there was a woman who's, you know, a very pleasant woman in a lot of ways, very well regarded, but during the course of 2017, at a particularly tense time, she came up with this idea that strong and stable government was the answer to everything, and that if you said strong and stable government, then that would make people believe that strong and stable government would be provided. And since the election, it hasn't been that strong or that stable. You know, there's some funny little coalition between the Northern Ireland folk and the Conservatives who lost seats. And if you want an illustration of how just saying your message like a robot, or the Maybot, as the Guardian call her, that's not the way to do it. You do want to have a message. Watch Sir Richard Branson, he gets his message in, but you don't want to be necessarily saying it overtly, and you don't want to be shoving it down people's throats. You want to slip it in with a little bit of subtlety and finesse, which you know, some people in the United Kingdom can be trained to do, even by Australians. So yeah, you know, one of my key things is that it is a learnable skill, but you do need a certain amount of practice. And often people who've just had a little bit of training, which can be a dangerous thing, if you just have a tiny bit, you think, I've got to get my message across, and not actually think I've got to actually answer the questions and properly connect with the person asking the questions and the wider audience. You know, if you fall into that trap, then you've got a problem.
When you watch the TV, who do you think, I mean, we talked about the Maybot, but when we watch television, is there one in particular that just makes your skin creep? Is there somebody that's on screen that you think to yourself, that's, you know, you really do need some additional training on this?
Yes, I say it all the time. I won't name names, but I think any astute viewers could watch closely and see, that person hasn't got it right. That person could do with seeking to get to a higher level. And, part of that is planning, preparation and practice, but also you don't want it showing. It's like, you don't want your underwear showing when you're on TV. I think you've done pretty well here, Steve. Well done. But you probably want to be having underwear, and the training is much the same. You want to have the training, but you don't want it to be overtly obvious to everybody. And so you still got to be a warm, lovable human being. I always say be yourself, but the best version of yourself. And with some planning, practice, preparation, you can achieve that.
We alluded earlier on to Grenfell, which was just a dreadful circumstance to occur, and our hearts go out to all the families that were involved in that. But what came out of that were the individual councils and the different parts of the political system that seemed to get it very wrong. They just didn't seem to have those skills.
No, they didn't. And one of the things is that it's a lot to expect someone at the top of an organisation to be brilliant on television, to connect with people's hearts at a time like that effectively, as well as actually, get important messages across on a practical level as well. And around Grenfell, so many people who should have had some training and thought about it in advance, clearly showed on television and on radio and in the newspapers that they didn't have it. So I suppose one of the things that's important for people who do train people to appear on television and on radio is to make sure they do some training before there's even a crisis on the horizon, so that you actually know in theory at least what to do. Sometimes I end up doing a sort of top-up session when there actually is a crisis, so we can work through certain things. But ideally, get your training in early when you've got the opportunity, when you're not under pressure. Get that right, and it will stick with you in tough times.
Bit of advice actually from me, if I'm being really honest with you. We've worked for a number of large corporates, and there is a danger sometimes within corporate organisations. What they will do is that they will bring perhaps maybe an actor who can articulate the words, can come up with a particular sentence, but in fact what they can't do is that they can't get into the head of the business. And so what you've got is you may have a CEO, a chief executive, who has been taught to say things that he wouldn't naturally say. It's not using the same vocabulary that he would normally come up with. And if you're in that situation, you need to either talk to the lovely Mike Dodd here, or you can talk to us. We'll put you either in touch with Mike, or we'll come in and you do something in the studio, and we'll do all sorts of different aspects of that. So listen, three pieces of advice then. Easy to do that. Finger's going a bit funny. Must be the age. Yeah. 3 pieces of advice then for somebody in 2018 to make certain that their communications with the media is going to be more effective. Straight down the camera lens.
Straight down the camera. Well, probably
you're used to that, aren't you?
Oh, I'll try that. Yeah. When you're looking down the camera, you've got to keep eye contact all the way, because if you look away, and I'll demonstrate it, it looks like you're being rude to the folks at home. Now Steve knows that, and I know it too. So I'll keep looking at you from now, and that's one of the reasons why, as Steve said, training in the kind of wonderful studio that he's got here in Surrey is great, because you get to see yourselves as other people see you, and that is really helpful. So I suppose first piece of advice is take any opportunity to see yourself back. Whether you're on the media or you're doing a presentation or something, get someone to record it on a mobile phone and watch it back. It's amazing what you'll learn. Number 2 is remember that people are under more time pressure because things are happening so fast. There was a guy called Alvin Toffler many years ago who predicted that things would get faster and faster, and they are. So the people you're dealing with through television or anywhere else often have less time than they used to. So get your message out there. Don't make it too overt, as we said, but make sure if you've got something important that people need to know, get it across succinctly and early on. And number 3, paint pictures in people's minds. Give them real-life examples, real-life stories that will stick in their mind, and they'll remember you and the story. And when it comes to your business, they'll remember your business too.
Fantastic. And he looked down the lens all the way through. Now, I don't know whether we can get on that camera over there. Can we just get Jim on the camera? Because poor old Jim has had to carry this camera for the entire show so far. There we go. Just swap him. There we go. Swap him. There you go. Jim. Look at that, no safety net whatsoever. Is the blood coming back to your arms now? That's it. Neil, I think what we're going to do, we're going to go into the studio because we've just been talking about the studio. Let's take you for a quick tour. We'll take you in here, and then we're going to come back and talk to Rupert in just a moment. So follow us through the airlock. So this, you didn't expect to be doing this bit, did you? So through to here. So this is the studio, by the way. A lot of people often wonder what the studio is all about. You keep walking, I'll pull the cable. There we go. Bit of cable coming in. So this is what our studio looks like. As you can see, it's your traditional green screen studio. And what we can do, can we just make that all green there, Gordon, if you don't mind? Just hit the button that turns the green off on camera 1. There you go. So this is your traditional greens. It's called chroma green. And what we can do, we can put any background that we want onto this particular background. So that means that what we can do, we can customize it for your business. Now, if you're a major brand or you're trying to get more footfall to your website and you just want to encourage people to come along, instead of sending out one of those boring old newsletters, why don't you send out something that's going to be a little bit more engaging? Send them out your own TV program. And remember, if I just sit down at this chair here, so here we are, this is the desk that we sit in every week. And when I click my fingers, what will happen? This will turn into our studio. 1, 2, 3, and there we go. So that's what's so clever about chroma green. So all of this now could be your branded studio. It could be what you're looking at. It could be your business that we're promoting. This screen here obviously just isn't there. It's just a green screen. Now, the thing that's interesting about this technology, this is exactly the same technology that is used by the likes of the BBC and also ITN. When you watch the news on ITN, the only thing that is real in their studio is, in fact, the broadcast desk where they sit behind. All the background, all the monitors on the walls, all that is green screen. Let's just go back once again to the way it looks on green again, shall we? Just go back to, there we go. So there's our studio. Now, the other thing that we've got here to help you, if you come in, to give you a real need, on the front of the cameras, we have our auto cue heads, so we can put scripts and things like that on the front of that. We've got monitors down here where you can actually see what's going out on the program when you're doing it. And let me take you into the control room now. So this is, Gordon's had his haircut done especially today. I think he had both the hairs cut, or was it just one? No, I was talking about Gordon. So here we go. This is coming into our gallery here. Bit of a mess today. So I'll turn that down so we're not echoing. So there we go. So this is Gordon. Here's our broadcast desk that we've got, so we can control everything from in here. We can stream live as we're doing at this very moment. A lot of people like to see the behind the scenes, don't they? So this is it. So just cut through some of the cameras. So there we go. So outside and here next one. Back to the studio. Thank you very much. All right, so there we go. So that's what you see inside of here. Right then. Well done, Jim, Neil, for doing some cable pulling. Let's go on to the next of our guests. We teased you with him earlier on, and we're gonna talk to him now. Rupert Honeywood. Now,
I was just pleased I wasn't against a green screen with a green suit. It might have been a slight problem.
It would have been. You'd have lost. You'd have disappeared completely.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of people, Rupert, these days are trying to build their databases. Linda's already come on and she's frightened them with GDPR. When we first met you, you were doing a lot with LinkedIn on a professional social media website that allows you to build your audience. So for those people that don't know what Rupert Honeywood does, what do you do?
Well, very simply, we do one very simple thing, and that is we work with our clients to help them win more business as a done-for-you service. And it's really interesting about GDPR as well, because a lot of businesses should be well aware of GDPR, but we see it as a massive opportunity as well.
Well, a lot of businesses aren't they? But let's stick with LinkedIn at the moment. Is it just the LinkedIn platform that you are using, or is it other platforms that you use as well?
Really, it's LinkedIn, also what we class as personal business email, so communicating at a business level with an individual, as it were. And shortly next year, we'll be communicating through direct mail as well, through the post. Actually,
so is that all coming back again? Is it because we're looking for something different?
It's really, I think it's so unfashionable, it's becoming fashionable. So what we'd argue is that if you can use an integrated approach to generating leads and creating opportunities, so your sales guys or ladies, of course, can win more business, then of course that's a really good thing. So it's about using the communication mediums that are actually out there.
What do you think the biggest issue is? Because everybody wants to have a list. They all want to have somewhere that they can sell and they can market to. I think a lot of people think that if you're on Twitter, then you're selling. If you're on Facebook, then you're selling. If you're on any of the social media platforms, and they just tend to be selling. But you don't do that, do you? You communicate.
Yeah, it's very much about building relationships. And the analogy I'd give is if I went networking and gave you my business card and said, buy my stuff, and then walked away again, you would feel really disrespected. And for some reason, when you're on social media, people think it's okay just to go out with a sales message straight off the bat, and that's completely the wrong thing to do. So it's about very much finding the right people you want to engage with, connect with them in the right way, start off a conversation, create a lot of interest, and then what you'll find, if you ask questions the right way, they'll actually ask for more information, and that way you can close a lot more business. And it's particularly suitable for higher ticket sales, where the relationship building part of the exercise is particularly important.
When you're looking at it and you're starting with this, what kind of company is your traditional or your classic customer? Who are the people that you would like to be talking to, and who are the right people to be talking to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I suppose for us, we can help people who are particularly or businesses which are trying to reach other businesses in particular, but obviously remembering that we're communicating at an individual level within that business. So it's companies or organisations, for example, it could be in the events industry, it could be in property, it could be to do with training, it could be to do with consultancy, it could be with media, it could be lawyers, accountants. The big thing is that if you try and reach everyone, you'll reach no one. So we have to micro-niche the targeting to get to exactly the right type of people that you want to communicate with. If we can reach those people and engage with them, then we can create more business for you.
When you're talking to businesses, what's the biggest problem that you come up against? Is it the fact that, I've got a huge number of people on my LinkedIn, huge number of people on my Facebook, and actually I'm living in the world of vanity with numbers, aren't I? Because nearly all the people on my LinkedIn, I don't really know. Is that something that you see a lot of?
Yeah, definitely. There's something that goes back a long time, actually, called the Dunbar's number, which basically says we can only know between 150 to 250 people reasonably well, and where we know them at first name terms, they've got a good relationship with them. And even with social media, that helps you to engage with people on the periphery, but actually people are still on periphery. So sometimes people will say, look, can you perhaps help me connect with someone who's actually in your network? And the challenge I've got, for example, I've got nearly 20,000 connections. Do I know more than 500 people or 1,000 people reasonably well? Probably not. So it's really important to understand it's about building on the depth of the relationship as well as on the size of your network.
Is there a moment amongst a database like that where you step back for a moment, you go, you're on my database, therefore you will be marketed to regardless?
That's completely the wrong way to do it. In fact, it's a very good way of upsetting people to do.
Excellent. So that's good. That's good. So a warning, here it comes.
Yeah. And of course, what you want me to say, of course, which is very true, is this whole GDPR issue is going to come and bite a lot of people in May next year. The good thing is we can actually help people to work around that problem, because we're predominantly communicating through LinkedIn in a business-to-business capacity, and the regulation is much more light touch in that sector.
And you don't take them off LinkedIn, do you?
Yeah, well, we will do, but once people have actually asked to be taken off LinkedIn. So quite often people reply and say something like, yes, of course, please do ask me those questions, or do share some information, but could you email me at this address? So because someone's actually asked to be communicated with that way, we'll then engage with them on behalf of our client, but it's a very direct, personal form of engagement. We don't use autoresponders to speak of at all, because that's mass marketing. We try and avoid those type of scenarios where we can.
The three big mistakes then?
The three big mistakes, I suppose, really ties in also with our three cogs, interestingly enough. It's really about making sure that you've got a really strong lead flow coming in, and a lot of businesses don't have a strong lead flow coming in of their ideal clients or prospects. It's also about nurturing those prospects. Again, a lot of people don't know how to nurture them. They go out straight with a sales message. We say, don't do that, build the relationship first, and then by all means, when people are asking for the information, give it to them. And it's also about making sure the whole sales optimization part is working really well. A lot of people, for example, we have cases we come across where we'll pass over really hot leads. People are saying, yes, please do give me a call, or can we have a meeting, let's have a conversation. And what they do, they go and sit on those perhaps for a few days or a few weeks, or not even follow them up. And that's actually one of the biggest challenges that we have when working with our clients. We can fix the other two and get that working really well. But we also need our clients to be really good at closing the business. And
it's really interesting you say that. A couple of weeks back, we did a global conference for an education company. And just before we did the global conference, we got a whole load of branded wear. We had T-shirts, sweatshirts, all those kind of things all made. And the company that did the branding for us came back and said, so what do you do? So I told them what we did. They said, will you come and see us? And I said, I will come after the global conference. Now, after the global conference, I did contact them. But I should have seen them last week. And now here we are, another week on. Where does time go? And is that the problem that you see with your clients, that your clients just don't get round to picking the phone up and going, hello?
Yeah, and it is literally a case of that. You can get an opportunity, a gift horse handed into handed straight over to you, and it's just missed. And we had a case the other day where we passed over, again, a really hot lead to one of our clients, actually, and I won't mention the client's name for obvious reasons, but potentially that could give him a door into 2 or 3 corporate clients. And yet it's not being followed through. So it's really important. We're very keen to work with our clients to make sure that the whole sales optimization part is working really well. Because what we do, we're very vested in our clients' relationship. Our client's success is our success, and the other way round. So it's a very symbiotic relationship.
Listen, it's been a pleasure working with you this year as well, and thank you very much for joining us, and happy Christmas as well. Just a moment, just going to very quickly whistle around and get one last final message from all of you. Before that, though, what I would like to say is this. Do help us out. Thousands of you are downloading. You don't have to stop talking, by the way. You can keep talking. Look at that, what a motley crew. What a motley crew they make over there, hey? Look, anyway, so thousands of you are downloading the program each and every month on iTunes. Please keep doing that, but you can help us out. It's very simple to do. All you've got to do is when you download it and you've watched or listened to one of the programs, then to leave a review for us. Now, the reviews really do help. Just go along to the page in your iTunes. You'll find the program there. And if you find this tab, it says Ratings and Reviews. Click on that tab. And then that will take you down to another tab. This is the important one where it says write a review. Write a glowing review. Tell us what you think about the program. Leave a 5-star review at the end of that as well, and that will help. And the way it works is that iTunes will then recommend our program to other people that are watching programs of a similar bent. And that really does help us. It helps us grow the program. And for all the people that download it on a monthly basis, thank you very much indeed. We really do appreciate it. Right, we're nearly there. Another year gone. 2017 whistling out through the door. 2018 is just waiting over there in the corners, just off stage, waiting to come on. And what's it going to hold for us? I mean, what is the future going to be? Well, you can rest assured, Business Connections Live is going to be here to give you the advice that you need all the way through the year. So let's finish off then this particular program by just asking our guests that are here. We'll very quickly whistle around. We'll get that one comment from each and every one of them to find out, well, that last message, the parting message, their farewell, their Christmas wish to you. Let's go over here. We'll kick off with Antonio. We kicked off with him at the beginning. Antonio, your parting message to our lovely audience.
Focus. Business.
Jim, could you focus, please? Thank you. Thank you very much. That job.
Well, it's true. Focusing on what it is you're trying to do next year. And I would always recommend, because a lot of businesses don't do it, think about where you want to be financially. Set your financial target for next year, and it'll all fall into line, hopefully. If it doesn't, read my book.
Read his book, Merry Christmas. Sylvia.
Well, carrying on from Antonio, I think this time of year it's great to think about what worked really well for me this year and what do I want to do more of. You know, what do I love, what really gets me fired up in the morning, makes me jump out of bed and go to work, and do more of it. That's what you're good at. That's what your customers want from you, and the more you do it, once again, the more you'll be in flow and the more people will be drawn to you. And have a great 2018.
Would you, just before we finish, just do the first 2 lines of the addressing the Haggers, because it just makes me... This is just brilliant. She's going to do this in its entirety on the first programme in 2018. Sylvia's coming on, and we're going to be talking about flow, talking about stage presence, stagecraft, all that kind of thing. But just for a moment, just listen to this.
Farfier on his sonsy face, great chieftain o' the puddin' race, a bun them all, ye tak your place, painch tripe or therm. Will you were they were grace as lang's my arm.
And you can watch all of that. Now, Gordon, who is the director, as you've just seen, he's actually Scottish descent, and he's going, Sylvia, have a very Merry Christmas. We'll come back to you, Martine, over here. So then that one Christmas wish or that one piece of advice that's off a seasonal flavour, what would it be?
Just to enjoy Christmas. I'm sure everybody has had a tough year. It'll probably be more challenging next year, but just, take some time to recharge batteries and come out fighting yet again.
And she was the first here today as well, so thank you ever so much for coming from the HR department. Linda, what would be your piece of advice? Her eyes went...
Don't worry about all of the pressures with Brexit and GDPR next year. Remember, you know how to run your business. So when you come back after Christmas with all your batteries fully charged, just get on with what you do best and let everything else just fall by the wayside.
Now we go to the chambers, the United Kingdom chambers, or in this particular case, Surrey's. So what do you reckon, Louise?
Well, the recharging batteries is absolutely vital. All have a nice rest, and as others have said before me, come back and do what you do best and get out there. Make sure you're out and about in the business community, meeting people, connecting, and every person you meet is probably going to help your business in one way or another.
Fantastic. Lynn, where are you? Linda, if you get back in the studio, we'll finish in there. So you get in there, mind the cable. Rupert, we've just spoken to you, but what would it be?
I think my thing was actually not to watch too much television, certainly not the news, because if you do watch the news, you'll probably thoroughly depress yourself. There's a massive amount of opportunity out there. 2018 is going to be a really good year, and we can do lots of good stuff with it. So let's all go for it.
So there we go, very positive message there. Michael Dodd.
Hello, how are you, Steve? This is a great program, I'm sure. What is your question?
The question is, it's your passing gift to our viewers, your passing message, the thing that will that'll get them ready for Christmas 2017, straight down the lens. What would it be?
Right. Well, we did talk earlier about putting pictures in people's minds and that people were very busy these days. I think one of the really important things is when you've got a key message, say it in a graphic way, but get it in early in the conversation. If it's a TV interview, get it in early. There's a particular way of remembering it, which is getting this message
You're not forgetting it, are you?
No. The really important thing is that it's the opposite of sex, which means that the climax should come at the start. Now, Steve, don't try this at home, but it's really important. Don't wait for the end of an interview to say something really important. Don't wait for the end of a business conversation. Get your stuff in really early, up front. People will remember it. They'll remember you. They'll remember your business. So do that, and the rest is easy.
So we had underclothes over there and sex down here.
It's an interesting thing.
It's an interesting
Have you got
thing.
any more questions?
It's enough, Jerry. What would be your parting message to everybody?
It's fairly straightforward and simple, Steve, and I think it's a mantra that both customers and colleagues and perhaps companies should really start thinking about. When a customer wins, nobody loses.
That is profound, isn't it? And we like that. There we go, Jerry. And finally, just the two people that we walked by and we've said nothing to. This is Katie down here. Katie with Sky, and also is one of our team of old. Katie's lovely to have. Very Merry Christmas. Katie, by the way, was in Panto this year. Oh no, she wasn't.
Oh yeah, she was.
Yes. Enjoyed Panto this year?
Oh, it was fabulous. It was brilliant. We had great audiences and everyone loved it.
Skye, exciting place at the moment, I would imagine.
It is, yes. It's very busy. We've got lots going on, and yeah, we're about to move into a new building, so that's quite exciting.
And we won't go any further down that route because we understand what's happening in the press at the moment. And finally, this is my lovely other half here. This is Barbara, who has been the reindeer and been looking after everybody today. So, a Christmas greeting to our viewers.
A happy, healthy Christmas and 2018 to everybody. And that's
lovely. Fantastic. Would you please just give yourselves a little ripple of applause? Just say Merry Christmas to all of you. Right, I'll just run in here. Sit yourself down. Sit yourself down. Can we stand up? I don't think we can actually in here. So no, I don't think we can. No, sit down. There we go.
Oh,
so
okay.
sit ourselves down.
Which one drink?
There we go.
You need a toast.
I do need a toast, but that's all right. There we go. So that's been an interesting. Lovely to have our friends here. Lovely to have the people that have joined us today.
Yeah.
And
some
can
of
we
the people
just
that couldn't join us today.
Yeah. So the ones, as always, a lot of people said that they were going to be able to make it today, and you know, it's all about business, isn't it? Mm. And if business is out there, what you've got to do, you've got to stop. You've got to put your stake in the stand, and you've just got to get on with it and get out there and do the business. So for all our friends who couldn't make it today, thank you very much indeed for just being part of the programme in 2017. It's been a lot of fun. We hope that you'll be part of the programme again in 2018. Final word from you. So did you enjoy today?
I've thoroughly enjoyed today, and it's so great to be able to have some of our guests back here that have been on and given their time during the year to give advice to all of our viewers that people find so useful, and of course they'll be back in the new year too.
Well, absolutely brilliant. So thank you very much indeed for joining us today. We hope you've enjoyed today's programme. Slightly different, but from Linda Bazan and myself, Steve Hyland, we wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas. In fact, now I know we're running the standard credits at the moment, which are our normal end of credits. Can I ask Gordon to hold those? Can we play our nice Christmassy one? Because that is very nice. You can do that, can't you? Yeah, he can do that. So listen, from everybody here at Business Connections Live, have yourself a fantastic Christmas till we do